Greetings and welcome, people. So here we go again. See what we can do with this one. And not only am I just out for a Sunday afternoon spin, I'm testing something. Yes. Now, I cannot recall now whether I have actually mentioned this in a video that I've actually uploaded and published, or whether I've mentioned it in a video I've recorded which I then did not publish. But I know I mentioned quite some time ago that I was thinking about making some small changes and some upgrades, and one of you very clever people did actually mention what you thought it was, and you were right. And what those small changes are, well, I suppose small is a matter of opinion. They're relatively significant changes as far as I'm concerned, because they've involved a certain outlay of money. And to stop beating about the bush and get to the point, any second now when I get round this bend, I have new cameras. Now, I bought these cameras a little while ago now, and I've only just got round to A, installing the camera on the helmet, and B, setting up the camera for the handlebar mount. Now, I remember quite some time ago I was talking about getting a better helmet camera, and I was a bit limited in the choices. Great, because I do not want to mount a GoPro style camera on my crash helmet. I prefer the, as you can see, the bullet style camera. I think they're a little less clunky looking when mounted on the crash helmet. They're fine on a bike mount, that's no problem at all. Oh, well done. But I needed to wait until I could find something that was a proper upgrade from the helmet camera that I already had, which was the Mio MyView M560, which was okay, but it was a bit limited in its capabilities. It could only do a maximum of 1080p 30. It couldn't do any higher resolution or higher frame rates. And somebody did mention that they had used, and I was actually considering, the Sena Prism Tube. This is the Wi-Fi edition, so I think as far as the Prism Tube goes from Sena, it's probably the latest model. So I've got that mounted on the helmet, and on the handlebar, you can see there in the same place that the previous camera was, something that looks very similar. They all look the same, these GoPro style cameras. It's not a GoPro Hero, but it is an Acaso Brave. So it's not a Hero, but it is Brave. And you can see what Acaso have done there. They're sort of lining their branding up with probably the brand leader, or the market leader in action cameras. But obviously that, not being a GoPro, didn't cost the £300 or £400 that a GoPro would cost. Now, obviously I'm not claiming it's got the capabilities of the GoPro Hero 9 or 10 or whatever the current version is, but I can't afford one of those, so I have to go with the compatibles, the lookalikes, the Me Too's of the action camera world. Now, as I said, the Mio MyView could only do 1080p 30, while the previous camera that was on the handlebar could do 4K, not a very good 4K, but it claimed to be able to do a 4K. The Senna Prism Tube can do 1080p 60, and it can also do 2K 30. Whereas the Picasso there can also claims to do 4K, and I think it'll do 4K 30, and it will do electronic image stabilization at all resolutions and frame rates, which I will at some point get around to testing. But at the moment I'm just testing what the footage looks like at, and I think I've got both of these cameras at the moment running at 1080p 60. So it'd be interesting to see what you good folks think about that. But I will also, maybe on the next run out, do 2K 30. Now I think that camera on there will do 2K 60, but obviously the helmet camera will only do 2K 30. So there's not much point in having one running at 2K 60 and the other one running at 2K 30. Might as well run them both at 2K 30. Yes, I could mix the footage and render it out at 2K 60, but then we're talking about very large file sizes and very long upload times, which even with my fibre broadband, it's not really fibre broadband, certainly not fibre to my house, it would still take quite some time. But we'll see how we go with the 1080-60. Now the other thing about the Senna Prism Tube Wi-Fi is it comes with a microphone, a wired microphone that you can choose to use or not use as you wish. Oh, excuse me. No, I'm not using that at the moment. I'm still using my Bluetooth to my phone, because obviously setting up the microphone in the helmet is going to be a little bit trickier than just slapping the camera on the side of the crash helmet. Okay, who's going where? No, I'm not going to be able to get past there in any sort of reasonable time. Certainly don't want to suddenly cut in front of that van. I don't think he'd be very happy. So basically, oh nice, E-Type Jag. Where's it going? Where's it gone? There it is. Oh, very nice. Very nice too. I think he's running a bit rich. I wonder if he's going up to Whiteways car park. So these new cameras are going to involve trying to come up with new strategies for working with them, recording with them. Obviously the camera on the handlebar there, the Picasso, is self-waterproof or water resistant without the case, without the external case. There is an external case with it, but you don't need it unless you're going to be spending a lot of time underwater diving or something like that. But for riding along in showers or possibly even up to heavy rain, certainly in a protected situation like that, the camera should be fine just as is without the case. But because it's self-waterproof or self-water resistant, it does mean it has very tight fitting hinged covers over the connector compartment and the battery compartment. So that also means that I can't do my usual trick of modifying a waterproof case to allow me to plug in a power cable through the side and run the camera off of an external battery pack easily. Basically what I can do is, if I run it without the case as it is now, I could open the the connector compartment on the side and plug in a USB lead and run that to an external battery pack or to an external power connection that I have inside the fairing of the bike there. But obviously with that compartment, the connector compartment door open, the camera is then no longer weather resistant. So I'm going to have to possibly come up with a strategy if I'm on a long day out and the weather's looking a bit iffy, chance of rain. I will have to start off running it with the external power supply so I don't use the battery in the camera, and then if it does come on to rain, I'll just disconnect the power, close the connector compartment door and run it off its internal battery. Similarly, the center prism tube comes with a waterproof connector on the back end, like most bullet cameras do, like my MyView M560 did. The only difference being that this one doesn't come with a waterproof power connector adapter to screw on the back in place of the end cover. It does come with a connector adapter for plugging in the microphone and a earpiece or a speaker that goes into the helmet, but I don't want to use the speaker, and if I use the microphone, obviously I'm then not going to be able to run the camera off an external power pack. But again, it will be a case of, if I need to run it for a long period of time, I will have to make up some sort of waterproof power connector to run to a power pack in my jacket, and then I'll just have to do as I'm doing now, record the audio over Bluetooth to my phone instead of directly to the camera. Obviously I'm assuming that that won't be quite as good as the microphone recording direct into the camera, but basically I'll have to make do with what I can do. Clearly protecting the cameras from water is more important, so I'll have to try and come up with some sort of strategy. Now for me that's quite difficult because I am quite forgetful when I'm out riding. If I'm just cruising along, my thoughts can become focused on riding and where I'm going rather than how long it's been since I changed the battery in the camera and that sort of thing. Quite often I'll get home and find that the camera battery has run out about halfway through the ride, and you know, I've taken spare batteries with me but I just haven't thought to fit them. Now clearly that's not the fault of the camera system or the way they've set it up. Chances of always getting a setup that is perfectly suited to how you're used to working is very slim. At least I haven't got to mess about with media mods and ridiculous clamps, etc., to just mount the camera on the helmet. How are we doing for weather out there? That looks nice. Nice view down into the valley. That would be a great view for a drone shot. Oh, excuse me, I'm sure somebody must have done so by now. So yeah, basically that's what's happened so far. Like I say, I think I mentioned this in one of my recent vlogs that I shot that I haven't uploaded. So if that's in the one that I'm currently working on, I'll either try and edit it out, or you'll have to just excuse me for repeating myself. And I shall be coming down this way tomorrow because Biker Pics are supposedly having one of their photographers down here. They usually set themselves up down on this bend down here and take photos of motorcyclists as they go past. Yeah, they pull up, they park up in that lay-by just over there and take photos of motorcyclists. So I'm going to try and get myself photographed. Yay! They seem to take fairly good pictures, so hopefully it'll be one that's nice enough for me to want to purchase. But knowing my flipping luck, I'll be stuck behind a blooming van or horse box or something, and they won't know I'm there until we go past. All Sunday drivers seem to be out today. So I think that's brought you up to date so far. As I say, nothing earth-shattering, nothing revolutionary. Same sort of thing that other people do, but they spend several £100s on GoPros. I don't have that sort of money. If I suggested to my wife that I wanted to spend £400 on a GoPro camera, I think I would get a very negative reaction. We've had an awful lot of expense this year, what with the roof and other things, having to replace the car. Something we were thinking about doing but weren't planning on doing just yet. But I think I may talk about that in my other video, so I won't go into too much detail on that. So I think that's all I've got to say on the updates so far. Nothing else I can think of. If anybody's got any questions about my choice of cameras, yes, I did do a fair amount of research before I opted for either of these cameras. The Senna pretty much chose itself because, as far as I can determine, for the style of helmet mount camera that I like, which is this bullet style, this is the only one in that style with the higher capabilities, the 2K. All of the others all seem to be up to 1080. So, like I say, as far as I could make out, I didn't really have any other choice. And I'm hoping that this camera is dealing with the changes in light levels a bit better than the previous one did. If I can find it easily, I'll put a clip in here of how the previous camera tried to cope with high brightness levels. It did this really weird fluctuation thing, going from light to dark and light to dark, light to dark, and it just basically didn't stop. It's almost like it was trying to find a suitable exposure setting, but never actually deciding on one. So let's hope that this Senna, coming from a more established, bigger name in the motorbike comms and communications, sort of comms and camera world, and being, I think, a little bit more expensive. I can't remember now. I think it was on a deal, so I think it ended up costing me not much more than the Mio MyView did. So if it's better than the MyView, then I'll be happy. Like I say, I will try, maybe not the next time I'm out, but the time after, I will try doing a run with both cameras set to 2K30 and see what that comes out like. Although, as I say, I suspect I will probably end up running them both at 1080p 60. Yes, that will still generate bigger file sizes than excuse me, 1080p 30, obviously, at least double the file size, but hopefully the extra clarity and quality will make it worthwhile. But I've got both of these cameras from Amazon, and they are now well past their return window, so if there's anything wrong with either of them, I'm going to have to be talking to the manufacturers, or the vendors should I say, to try and resolve any issues. The Senna does have a more up-to-date firmware to go on, but I decided not to do that straight out of the box. I often do, but I thought no, I'll have a go with it as is to see how it goes, and install the firmware update later on. I don't know whether there's a firmware update for the Acaso Brave. I'm sort of reading some worrying comments and reviews on that camera, and particularly on the Acaso themselves. It says they're not particularly responsive to queries and questions, reports of problems, etc. Oh dear, this is a terrible corner. Maybe I should point myself more across the road than down the corner on that one. But we shall see. Yeah, so I decided that today would be a good day to come out on the bike, give these cameras a try out. The rest of my family is currently sitting indoors waiting for the F1 GP to start. Apparently the start has been delayed. It may already have been cancelled by now, I don't know, due to heavy rain at the Spa circuit in Belgium. Whee! Network corkscrew! Yay! So here's hoping that I've got the camera angles correct. The good thing about the Senna is it does have a Wi-Fi capability, hence the Wi-Fi name. Uh-oh. Oh god, they haven't chucked bloody kitty litter all over this road, have they? Not so far. It has a Wi-Fi connection, which means I can use my mobile phone to check the alignment from the camera, which I did before I left, but it probably needs a little bit of tweaking. Hopefully it's good enough for there certainly doesn't seem to be any dressing here yet. I think they've probably got those notices out ready for when they do it. God, I hate that. I hate that bloody top dressing stuff. It's a pain in the what's it. So yeah, as I say, hopefully it's good enough. Hopefully the camera batteries on both of them will last long enough to record this journey. Obviously I've got the dash cam running on the bike, so for dash cam purposes I'm covered. Don't like using action cameras for dash cam use anyway. I'd rather have a proper dash cam for that, which obviously I have got, front and rear dash cam. So yes, it's looking like a rather cloudy but pleasant afternoon. Some very nice properties around here. Oh look, there's an insignia just like mine. So I think I will call that the end of the vlog. Obviously not the end of the ride, I've still got a way to go. If anything else comes along and I happen to catch it on camera, I'll include it. So I'd like to say thank you for stopping by and taking a look. Hope you're all doing well, keeping safe. And I hope those couple of guys over in the States who have had crashes on their bikes and have been injured are doing okay. Throttle Fiend Moto, I think, is the one I was trying to think of in a earlier video, which I possibly haven't even uploaded. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Get back on that bike as soon as you're fit and able. And I am now struggling to think of the name of the other American motor vlogger. I will check it up and put it at the bottom of the screen. So other than that, I hope everyone's well and your lives are getting back as close to normal as possible, and I'll speak to you again on the next one. Cheerio for now. Bye. Ooh.